talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about Bitch You Lucky We Are Still Married.
Oh, whoa.
Yes.
Okay, that's the topic of today.
I mean, it only makes sense with our anniversary coming up and so many failed relationships around us and people that we know, people that's dear to us that, we're like, oh my God, that didn't, they didn't make it and why. There's always a why. We always wonder why. And we're not perfect by any means, so please don't think we are. We have our issues all the time.
Not all the time, Jesus Christ.
Okay, well,
30% of the time.
sometimes it feels like 100, depending on the issue.
Women
If the issue
always
is
exaggerate. But
well, yeah, maybe we exaggerate, but for the most part, I think that we've come a long way. Like if I go back to the beginning of time and I made my little notes.
We got notes.
Yeah, well, you got a whole, yeah, trust me. You got notes.
Women live on notes and in the past.
What? I wouldn't say we live in the past. We just like to keep a record of things. So, let's go back to how we met. So we met very unconventional type of way.
Yes.
But it worked for us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It worked for us. We knew each other. We knew of each other. I don't think we could have stand each other. And I think that kind of drew us closer together because there was things about you that I couldn't stand and there was things about me you couldn't stand, but those were the things that we was lacking in ourselves.
Perhaps.
I think so. You wouldn't give me credit yet.
No, it's not about not giving credit, but no, I'm saying perhaps because you could be right, but you also could be wrong. One thing I could say, with you saying that when we went to counseling prior to getting married, and that was
the church counseling.
With your church counseling, right? Correct. One thing that stuck with me, and I think that everybody should use as an example before getting married, is don't get married only because of love, but get married knowing the worst things about you. Can I stand them? Can I live with them for the rest of my life?
That's the one thing you got from church?
Absolutely, because that made perfect sense. People going, oh, I love her so much because of this, that, the other. But what about the things that you cannot stand? Are you going to be able to live with that? So if you can't live with that, you're going to end up in a divorce. So my advice to everyone getting married or in a marriage is make sure you can live with the things you cannot stand from that person. And you'll be all right.
I think that's fair enough. Because there's things about you I can't stand. Over the years, and it's like, is it the absolute worst thing? No. Then I hear horror stories. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, well if that's the hell I'm tripping over, this is not that bad at all. So you kind of gain some perspective because you're like, when you hear other people horror stories, you're like, but I'm only tripping over the fact that he don't tell me where he's going. Okay, I can live with that. He'll tell me after the fact, but I do feel like with marriage, people shouldn't get married unless they're not complete within themselves, but in a better space with themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a lot to do with marriage that fails. They're not mature enough to know, okay, I may not know where he's going at the time, but he's going to tell me afterwards because we have that. That's maturity. Not, oh, well, you changed plans, so you need to tell me right away.
I used to be like that.
Right. And we used to have fights over that because it's like this control thing that when you're married, it's like, okay, I can never escape this control factor that life has over me, period. Whether it's the government, whether it's my job, whether it was my parents growing up. There's always this control thing. So now you get married to another adult, which should be your best friend or what have you, and trust you in whatever category you're getting into. And then it's like, what the hell? Shit, I have to tell you before I change plans and go somewhere with my brother or sister or friend or whomever. So that's just an example of things that set people off and they just feel trapped or in jail or in prison or, man, this is my warden and I have to explain to them if I'm getting changed to a different cell block or what. It's just a lot. And it's always a lot and it puts a lot of pressure on the relationship and starts to divide.
So you're speaking from a man's perspective, because I can't speak for all women, but I do feel like women, we're very detailed, right? So for me, okay, we're detailed, and then I can only speak for me now. I didn't know that I had anxiety and ADHD and OCD, a little sprinkle of depression at one point, right? So yeah, you see that whole concoction there. So for me, I'm operating in a space where this is how I'm feeling. Oh my God, if you don't tell me what's going on, I'm feeling like I'm losing air, da, 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 da. And that's a problem because that's not normal.
Yeah.
But in that time, I didn't know that wasn't normal.
Neither
so
did I.
I'm just like, rah,
Yeah.
and you're like, whoa, So when I look back, I'm like, shit, I would have left me. That was rough because nobody wants to live in that space. People want to feel free. You want to have a freedom in marriage.
Yes.
And I don't think people understand that part of things. There is supposed to still be freedom in marriage. And sometimes you see a lot of couples and they're like, oh, we do this. Or I hear couples, right? And they're like, oh, my husband's not allowed to have female friends.
Yeah.
Or, no, my wife better not have a male friend. To me, that's bullshit because that's where that restriction comes and the boxes come and all of this stuff comes. But to your point,
and the hiding and sneaking.
The hiding and sneaking comes. So how do people even overcome that where you may be like, man, okay, this chick is cool, blah, blah, blah. I might be like, yo, this dude is cool. He means no harm. But because you have insecurities within yourself, you don't trust the other person, you project, and then now everybody's bad, everybody's out to get you. And I used to be in that space. I do feel like people ain't shit half the time. That's my perspective because I'm that type of person naturally. I feel like I could see bullshit a mile away for the most part, and maybe I lead into that with relationships with people. That's why, hence, I don't have a lot of friends, which is not a bad thing. I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Not having a big circle of friends and the fake phony friend thing.
Yeah.
But I do feel like before you even get into a relationship, you really, really need to make sure you're ready for that relationship, because a lot of times we get into a relationship with our bad habits, our bad ways, our bad programming, and we expect this person to fix it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the burden comes, because it's not your responsibility to fix my insecurities or my daddy issues or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Issues I have within myself, my low self-esteem. It's for me to come in already having that, and for us to be like, okay, babe, I'm going on a guy trip. All right, cool, have fun. I'll talk to you on Monday. And where you going? Well, I hear females in the background. Well, where you at? I thought you wasn't going to the strip club. Da, da, da. Trust me, I'm not the only female who's done that bullshit.
I don't know. By no means. That's why the divorce rate is so high, because you're definitely not the only female that does that. And it's not only the female, but us men, we do dumb shit too. But I think with open communication and trust, you can avoid so much of that. But with that being said, I just wanted to commend you on the work that you've done for yourself and the growth that you have had throughout the years that we've been together. That, at one point I loved you, but I didn't like you. And, we both know that. But you did so much work on yourself to be a happier person with yourself. And that's one thing that I can also say to anyone. Like, you can't sit there and come into a marriage and you're not happy and you're dependent on that person to make you happy, which is something that you struggle with. And I used to tell you all the time, it's not my job to make you happy. It's our job to come in happy and feed off of each other. And sometimes I may be a little down and you bring me up, or sometimes you're a little down and I bring you up. But to sit here and I have to expend all my energy on making you happy, it's impossible, and it's not fair to anyone. But you became happier with yourself. You grew to know yourself more and be more open and all of that, and you did the work. So I definitely commend you for that, and that's why you can have this podcast now, because now you can help people that need to learn how to do the work and to see where they're growing from doing the work. So with that being said, I want to ask you a question. Do you think that one of the major issues of marriage nowadays is that the whole concept is outdated?
It is. I do feel that social media has a lot to do with the tone of things and how things have shifted. So yes, at one point, right, like growing up, like marriage is this like sacred thing and your parents are married for 40, 50 years, or mine wasn't, they got divorced. But, it's it. Like that's like the ultimate goal, right? Like the ultimate goal is like, man, be married is a success story. Man, you've been married for 40 years. Man, wow. When you hear people nowadays be like, "Oh, I've been married for 40 years." Oh, okay, cool, good for you. Nobody even gives a shit anymore. Like people don't even want to tap in for wisdom anymore. Like, well, how did you guys make it? We made like shit. How did they make it? It's definitely different. I do feel that because perspectives are different, people goals are different, mindsets are different, the world is different. Mm-hmm. And then there's so much other things that everybody is aspiring. Nobody's aspiring anymore to be like, man, I want to have a happy home. I want to have a family. It's more self-centered. I want to be successful. I want to just make money. I want to do this. I want to travel, da, da, da. But I don't know if people, and I'm not saying no shade to anybody who's single and want to live that life, but I feel like when you get married, there is a part of you that you do have to bury a little bit.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, you have to get rid of, not get rid of, but you have to sacrifice a part of you to be in a union with someone, to be like, okay, we're going to make this work together. And sometimes people get into marriage and they don't want to make any sacrifices. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's part of the problem today and not only that, everybody feel like, shoot, like, hell, woman a dime a dozen, men is a dime a dozen, you fuck up, I'm going to find somebody else. People are just disposable. They're disposable. It's like, whatever. And that's the thing. Girl, find you another man. The easiest way to get through a problem is get up under somebody else. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And all these people who say all this shit is all single, by the way. Half of them. So, I don't even answer your question because I have this thing, my mind goes all over the place. Did I answer your question? What was your question again?
In a sense. But where I'm going with it is here. So, who is to say that back in the days they had it right as far as being married and being with one person for the rest of your life? That's my take on
didn't have it right because half of them have a bunch of families.
They had a bunch of families. They had a bunch of secrets and all kind of things, right?
That is so true.
And my thing that I've always said, and I've said this to you, how can you be 18, 19, 20, and you're deciding to get married, and this is the person that you're going to be for the rest of your life? There's nothing that we do in life that is for the rest of our life. You buy a house, you outgrow that house, you buy another house. You get a car, you get tired of that car, you get another car. Everything else but marriage is for the rest of your life. How is that something natural? Why is it? I've always said, if I become president, which I will one day, and I'm going to institute this law, I'm going to say, you're going to do a contract. I'm going to do a 4-year contract with you, babe. I have enough trust that we can get through 4 years. We make it through that 4 years. If I decide to be a free agent and go in the market, hey. But if I be like, man, I love you, man. Shit has been great. Let's do another 4 years. I can do another 4 years. Even presidential terms, 4 years,
I know.
8 years. Everything has an end but marriage. And unfortunately, the only end to it is a divorce. And then it's ugly, and you went through courts and the law and spending on lawyers, and it's insane. And people keep doing it, and it's like a 50% failure rate. 25% of the people that still are married are unhappy and just there. It's a sad state. So what do we do to make this different and better? I don't understand why America is so terrible at changing things. Changing laws.
You're really trying to have people think that should be a law?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So
don't you
what
think
would
it would be a lot easier?
What would be my contract?
Married, right? And I'm like, man, I can't stand this woman. But you know what? I got 1 more year. I'm going to make it through this year. And you stay that year. And at the end of the year, you explain to the kids, we get a divorce. It's the end of our contract. Mom and Daddy, we're just not getting along. Come over the weekends, whatever the case may be. It's a lot easier separation than kids thinking, oh, mommy and daddy are supposed to be married for the rest of their lives. And then they get divorced, and then the kid is distraught and like, oh my God. And then they have this in their mindset, and they get married, and they end up in a divorce because mom and dad end up in a divorce. It's a cycle of bullshit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I think it's a one like sacred thing because for people who are faith believers, right? Religious people,
Religious people even change their
I know,
religious
I know.
beliefs.
They do, and they
Come
get divorced
on.
too. I know, I know.
Okay.
But I do feel like because there's something so sacred about marriage, like on a whole, no matter what your belief system is, people, oh my God, marriage. That's why it's such a big thing, right? But yes, who came up with this big thing? Why is it such a big thing? I get it. Like everything else. People go to college, they switch college and drop out of school. I get it. Like there's so much other things and commitments and different things we do in life that we can pivot at any point. But marriage is the one thing, like, that's it. But it's really not that's it, because you could divorce at any point. But you're going in with the intent not to get a divorce.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a trap.
Mm-hmm.
People know they can have a way out, but there's a shame that comes with it, right?
Like you've been divorced 4 times. Oh my God.
Right. So you get
Nobody
divorced.
says, "Oh, you've had 4 houses." Oh my God, you've had 4 different cars in 1 year. No, but you get divorced. It's a big shame.
It's a big shame that comes with it.
Oh,
yeah.
something must be wrong with you because you've been divorced 4 times. No,
right.
it's not. Actually, that's a great thing that someone's decided to marry me 4 times.
Oh, thank you. You decided to marry me. This is the 3rd time. 3rd time and I'm done, by the I'm going on record to say this is it. Like Michael Jackson. But he died after he said that.
This is my first time, so I can't say this is it for me.
Excuse you. This is it.
Okay.